The central hour this hour begins at the court where Justice Obiora Egwatu of the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to about 67 minors to the tune of 10 million naira each out of the 76 that were arraigned during the End Bad Governance protest. Those granted bail who are below 15 years are expected to present one surety who must be a civil servant. Meanwhile, another 87 who are adults are currently being arraigned on the same charges. We will bring you more details later in our subsequent bulletins. But then to help us understand this better, we cross over to our correspondent, Emmanuel Bagudu. Of course, he will be telling us the proceedings as it went down in the court. Bagudu, it's nice to have you around, Emmanuel. So let's have an understanding of the story, what the information is, and of course, what the situation is with the minors.
Justice Obiora Egwatu actually, listened to two sets of cases. And the first was that of the minor, and the second was that of the adults who were arrested from Zaria and Kaduna State. So the first set of trial, which happened, between 8 and around 11 p.m., where about 67 minors were granted bail. 10 million naira bail with, of course, the shorty who must be a civil servant here within the FCT. And then the second set of, trial, which involves adults, about 43 of them who were arrested from Kaduna State. That has been what is happening in the court. And then, of course, there are a lot of, arguments, a lot of emotional outbursts and all that. There are a lot of confusion whether these are really adults or not. The prosecution counsel, claim that most of them are actually adults, not really, minors. But, as the case goes on, we'll know details of what is really going on right now. Thank you.
Were the actual charges preferred against these people? We're talking about, we're yet to determine if, the entire bunch are minors. But we need to understand what are they being charged for, or what were they charged for?
Well, they are charged, the charges are up to 10 count charges. All of them are, bordering on treason, civil disturbances, and of course, vandalization. Allegedly, of course. This is subject to, the discretion of the court. So today is just the first day of arraignment, and then we'll look forward to seeing what is happening. But as we speak, 67 of those minors, have been granted bail. And then, of course, stringent conditions, which means they are automatically going back to the prison, or rather the incarceration center, depending on when they meet up these bail conditions, because they are very stringent. Because you can imagine, where will a 14-year-old boy, get a 10 million naira and of course a shorty. If you calculate 10 million naira times 67, that's a huge amount of money. Who will take that risk? That's the big question. So the charges are just about treason, civil disturbances, making references to what happened in Kano, FCT and Kaduna. You remember the NCC building that was destroyed. You remember the Kaduna Industry Protection Company that was also destroyed. You remember the banks that were destroyed along Amadu Bello. Those are those charges that were brought up against these children. And most of them are from Kaduna and Zaria. So those are the charges. Of course, that is based on the discretion of the court. Yeah, thank you.
Of course, because according to what we understand, in as much as, some people would say that they are not able to determine if they are of age already or they are minors, it seems as though it's been established that they are actually minors in terms of their age. But then, did you get to speak to any one of them? We can't actually show their faces because of the age and the implication around their identity. But Emmanuel, did you get to speak to one of them to have an understanding as regards if they themselves fully understand the situation they are in, and if whatever charge has been leveled against them, they feel they are culpable of it?
Some of their parents, a lot of their parents came in, and of course, whatever you listen to, whatever we've heard from both the prosecution and defense are mere claims. We actually made our findings, and of course, I can tell you that I can actually boast that I saw with my eyes about 70 minors in this trial. 70 of them in this trial. Most of them speak Hausa. I spoke Hausa to a lot of them. They told me, they were arrested. Some of them were arrested from Kano. Some of them were arrested from Zaria, and of course from Kaduna. And they were kept at the Inspector General, Rapid Response Team office here in Asokoro for 93 days. That's about 3 months and, of course, 3 days. Quite a long time, you know. Some of them were not fed well, according to them, allegedly. Some of them are suffering from different kinds of ailments. Of course, you saw the drama that happened in the morning where Justice Obiora have to excuse himself because of the, unfortunate scene of that boy that collapsed and was rushed to the clinic nearby. So actually, they are minors. Most of them are minors. And of course, 67 of those minors were given, I think one of the reasons why the judge actually was motivated to grant those bail was because of the incident that happened in court. Because he was very sure that he can be sure of 67 out of them are below the age of 15 from what he noticed. And that was what prompted him to give the bail on the first day of arraignment. Yeah.
Said that there's a possibility that those who are not granted bail probably might be taken to prison or a jail, so to speak. And a while ago, you talked about these children, or should I just say minors, were being kept in a facility. I'd like to understand, as at the time they were being taken to this particular facility, does it look like a juvenile home, or was it an actual jail where they were from there brought to the courts, and those who are not able to secure their bail would be going back to the jail?
In fact, when you look at the bail condition, look at the time now, look at the time that ruling was given, you agree with me that, securing that bail condition today is close to impossible. And that means, of course, some of them have to go back to where they are coming from. That particular place they were kept for 93 days is, as I said, the Inspector General Rapid Response Unit Office here at Guzape area of Asokoro here in Abuja. And that is where we have the, defunct SARS. That's where they function. Very specialized police force. They are, looking after these minors. And of course, very funny pictures that we have, very disturbing pictures that we have, and of course the particular one that, involved the minor collapsing. So the general ambience here is just that of mixed feelings, heated arguments, emotional outbursts, and all what have you. So as the days goes by, of course, you expect a lot of reactions from activists, you expect a lot of reactions for, human rights watchdogs, you expect a lot of reactions from, what generally happened today in court. And we expect that may influence, or that may have either a negative or a positive impact based on how it looks like on this particular issue. Yeah.
Emmanuel Bagudu, thank you so much for sharing these updates with us. I will definitely connect with you to get more details as regards the eventual end of this particular case set to be in court. Thank you very much. So at this point, we are joined by a legal luminary, that is a lawyer, Justice Ojeno, and we will also be bringing the legal perspective to this because we really need to deal with this. Thank you so much, Justice, for joining us.
It's my pleasure to join you. Good afternoon.
So you must have heard our correspondent right there was actually covering the proceedings at the court in Abuja, saying that it has been established that they are minors and they were being kept in a commanding unit facility, so to speak, for about 93 days. Is that legal?
Okay, straight ahead, straightforward. Yeah, first I must first establish the fact that because it's a matter in court, there's a limit to what I can talk about when it comes to matters within the courts. But when it comes to minors, generally, you cannot hold them in places where adults are generally kept. They are supposed to be specialized places where you hold them. In fact, since it has been established that they are minors, they are not even supposed to be arraigned in open court, except the prosecution is trying to feign ignorance that they don't know or they didn't know before now that they were minors, or they are assuming that they are adults. But again, it will really be in bad faith, because sometimes just from a cursory look at a person, you can be able to determine whether the person has actually attained the age of 18 or not. So as for holding them pre-trial in those places, I feel that it is very, very wrong. And on the face of it too, they knew they were minors and they arraigned them in open court with their identity brandished everywhere. And during the process of arraignment, stating their names, I think it is very, 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 very unlawful and something to be condemned expressly this way. Having said all those, we must also state that with respect to where they are taking them to after the arraignment. First, usually what happens is that after a person is arraigned, they leave police custody or EFCC custody or whatever other custody, and they take them to prison custody pending trial. I pray that these anomalies that has been occasioned till this present moment is not perpetuated by taking them again from wherever it was they are bringing them from and taking them to either Kuje or any other prison facility.
Okay, so we need to establish this because it seems, not even as it seems, it's actually in context of protest, because these were people were arrested during the End-Bad Governance protests. Is it a violation of their rights? Because it seems as though they are being tried as adults. 67 of them have been granted bail, and they're meant to present surety who would provide 10 million naira each, and that surety has to be a civil servant. Is that skewed in terms of, this and the judgment?
In my intro, I actually said that there's a limit to what I can say because the matter is already before the court. And if you check my background a bit, I'm one of the lawyers to the protesters that participated seriously with respect to the End-Bad Governance protests in Lagos, with respect to securing their release and all. So I have a skin in the game. I have a dog in the fight. So because of that, I may not be able to talk about how the judge exercised his discretion when it comes to saying that the average Nigerian or a set of persons who have spent as much as 93 days within a prison facility or within any form of holding facility at all should pay 10 million naira and they should bring a level 15 civil servant officer. I don't know. So again, I may not be able to actually give a precise or my own solid opinion on that, but for me, generally, it's not a situation I am happy with at all, because I think that by now, if the federal government has some level of shame, the optics of it all should have made them practically regret doing these kind of things, because this really irritates to the highest heavens, especially when we are talking about celebration of democracy, or the fact that in the International Committee of Nations, we are actually practicing democracy.
But that justice, are citizens who are under the age of 18 allowed or permitted to participate in protests?
Yes, there are some rights that are not age-bound. In fact, all the rights in our Constitution, especially the ones captured in Chapter 4, from sections 33 to sections 46, they are rights to be enjoyed by every Nigerian, running through everything from life in 33, dignity of the human person in 34, liberty in 35, fair hearing in 36, privacy in 37. So every Nigerian is supposed to enjoy it completely and in full. So the persons who are below the age of 18 are not exempted. They are fundamental human rights that are to be enjoyed by every Nigerian just by the fact and virtue that they are human beings. And it's not even restricted to only Nigerians. It is to be enjoyed by every human being that finds himself or herself in the geographical location called Nigeria. The only one that is not to be, that's to be only enjoyed to the maximum benefit by only the citizens of Nigeria is the one in section 37 that talks about the privacy of the correspondence of the citizens of Nigeria. But aside from privacy, every human being that by accident or deliberately find themselves in Nigeria are entitled to maximally enjoy the rights because it is given to them by virtue of the fact that they are human beings.
Okay, Justice Ojano, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's now tell you that the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has located the wreckage of a helicopter that crashed into the Atlantic Ocean last Thursday while transporting Nigerian National Petroleum Limited workers from Port Harcourt. In a statement released on Thursday, NSIB Director of Public Affairs and Family Assistance, Bimbo Oladeji, confirmed that the Sikorsky SK-76 helicopter with registration FNBQG was found approximately 0.775 nautical miles from the FPSO Adun at a depth of 42 meters. NSIB Director General Captain Alex Bade commended the search and rescue recovery team's efforts, noting that preparations are underway to retrieve the helicopter for further investigation. The helicopter crashed into the ocean on October 24, 2024, with 8 people on board. So far, 5 bodies have been recovered, while 3 individuals remain unaccounted for. Away from that, Nigeria's National Economic Council has called for the inclusion of the southeast and south-south regions in the construction of dams to help mitigate flooding risks. The council also endorsed a federal government directive for the Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation to carry out a comprehensive integrity assessment of Nigeria's waterways and dams. This decision, announced by the Anambra State Governor Prof Soludo, follows the Council's 144th meeting led by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the State House in Abuja. Governor Soludo noted that Water Resources Minister Professor Joseph Utsev briefed Council members on the government's ongoing response to this year's severe floods. Earlier, the ministry had identified 148 local government areas across 31 states as high flood risk zones for April through to November 2024.
That the ministry, that's the federal ministry of water and water resources and sanitation, to conduct an integrity review of all the waterways and dams across the country. There was serious emphasis on the need for a massive program of dredging or desilting of the waterways and have a firm program of continuous desilting almost on an annual basis.
With barely 24 hours to the local government election in Abia State, there are still uncertainties surrounding the statuses of candidates of the Labour Party. The leadership of the Labour Party in the state has alleged a change of its candidates list submitted and published earlier by the electoral body. News Central's Chuma Ogede was at the press briefing in Aba on Thursday, where the secretary and chairman of the party complained about the developments.
On the 25th of October 2024, the Abia State Independent Electoral Commission published the list of candidates and parties for the local government election, wherein all participating parties were published and indicated cleared or not cleared.
I was around the corner now. That's what I'm saying. I was around the corner, so I came in.
The Labour Party says the new list published after the first is bearing different names from the ones the party presented to ABSEC before now. The Julius Abures-led executive, with Prince Ndubeze as the chairman in Abia State, has said it will not tolerate being excluded from the elections.
Yesterday, they clandestinely brought out another list, which ABSEC posted, and the list of the candidates we found there were completely different from what we presented and was acknowledged by ABSEC. So they are quite alien to the party. We don't know who those individuals are. The list they had earlier published on the 25th of October are the authentic, and they not just published, they wrote, it was indicated cleared by ABSEC. They are the authentic candidates of the Labour Party for this 2nd November 2024 elections. So what we have there now is something strange to us, and that will not stand.
You know, why this confusion in Labour Party? This is the question that I stand to ask. Why this confusion in Abia State? Why is Governor Dr. Lesotho keeping mute over these confusions in the state?
They are also threatening court action should the electoral body fail to correct the errors before the elections on Saturday.
If they win through democratic process, we congratulate them. If they foreclose the democratic process of election and any other thing happens, cause of action has arisen.
I approach the court we have that as an alternative to approach the court based on what we have seen.
The secretary of the party is also alleging that majority of those who AFSEC published as Zenith Labour Party's candidates are still card-carrying members of Labour Party.
Individuals parading themselves as candidates of another party is a clear contradiction of the Electoral Act 2022. So as of today, they are no members of the party. Some of them have even dual posters where they had that of Labour Party and eventually that of Zenith Labour Party. So it's coming to us as a rude shock and a further embarrassment. But in due course, we will also address that.
This is a totally strange situation in the history of politics in Abia State, where the party in power has to worry about the conduct of an election even before the election. In Omaha for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugili.
Grassroots governance plays a vital role in government, and acknowledging these efforts is essential. The Sustainable Grassroots Governance Summit was held to highlight local governance and the key individuals driving grassroots development, celebrating those who are making significant contributions to progress in Nigerian society. News Central's Chidima Ona reports.
Recognizing key players in local development is crucial for the country, as local government representatives serve as direct links to community and are vital for sustainable development. Their role extends beyond policymaking to build trust, representation, and unity. The Nigerian Grassroots Governance Summit and Awards, held in Lagos, gathered influential figures, including esteemed commissioners, honorable ministers, government officials, and local leaders, to emphasize the significance of grassroots governance.
The local government is the closest to the people. It is where governance touches the lives of citizens most directly. Yet, in too many cases, this crucial tier is neglected, underfunded, and under-resourced. If we are to truly transform Nigeria as a people, if we are to truly lift the masses out of poverty, improve education, provide healthcare to the common man, then our local governments must be empowered to perform its role with efficiency, transparency, and compassion.
To transform the foundational structures of Nigerian communities, it is crucial to cultivate a network of diverse individuals and groups that have been pivotal in promoting local growth. At the gathering, speakers emphasized the important role grassroots representatives play in connecting government with citizens.
Grassroots governance is the foundation upon which strong democracies are built. It ensures that the power is distributed equitably, that citizens are engaged, and that decision-making is inclusive and participatory. When governance is rooted in local communities, it becomes more responsive, accountable, and effective.
The key thing is how then do we ensure that people feel connected, people feel that they are being looked after, people feel that they are not being ignored and they are not being oppressed by those who are ruling over them. And that's why it's important that we look at how best we can ensure that governance gets to the grassroots in a way that matters, in a way that connects people and makes people feel that they are being looked after. And that's why I appreciate this summit today.
The event highlighted the transformative impact of local initiatives that unite communities and nurture the foundations of national progress from the grassroots level. In Lagos for News Central, I am Chidima Ona.
From local governance to a story around education, Johesu was called off its 7-day nationwide warning strike, urging members to resume work today. The joint health sector unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professionals suspended the strike after the federal government's delays in addressing welfare issues. The union's demands include implementing a consolidated health salary structure, reviewing June to December 2023 arrears by 25%, raising retirement age for health workers, tax waivers on allowances and immediate payment of COVID-19 hazard allowances. In a statement on Thursday signed by leaders Kabiru Minjibir and Martin Egbanobi, Johesu gave the government 6 weeks to meet all Memorandum of Understanding obligations or face an indefinite strike. Johesu plans to review progress in an emergency NEC meeting at the deadline. To discuss this, we're joined by Comrade Martin Bagudu, who is the National Secretary, Joint Health Sector Unions. We're actually talking health, not education. Thank you so much, Mr. Martin, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So how significant is the consolidated health salary structure to Johesu members? It's one of your demands. And what impact would that, looking at the implementation, what would it have on healthcare workers and the system as a whole?
Well, thank you so much. Like you have seen in our demands to federal government, the flagship of the demand is the implementation of the adjusted consolidated health salary structure. And this salary structure is so significant to our members who constitute the larger percentage of the workforce in the health sector. Significantly, we have about 80% of the health workforce who are health professionals and health workers that constitute the Joint Health Sector Union. The 4 registered union is the Medical and Health Workers Union, the Nigerian Union of Allied Professionals, the Senior Staff Association of University, Teaching Hospital, Research Institution and other associate institutions, and the Non-Academic Staff Union. Okay, so why this salary structure adjustment is so important and so germane to our struggle is that the 2009 agreements that constituted the 2 salary structure based on the collective bargaining agreement had a clause of adjustment of the 2 salaries simultaneously. That whenever one is adjusted, the other should be adjusted accordingly. So, but in 2014, there was an adjustment on one of the salary structure, which is the salary structure that caters for the salaries of the medical practitioners, the medical doctors, okay, which we call the consolidated medical salary structure. And there was no adjustment on the consolidated health salary structure, which caters for other health professionals and health workers within the health sector. So the agitation has been on since 2014, and it is about the welfare of health workers under the Joint Health Sector Union. It is about remuneration justice as established by the collective bargaining agreement, because it's so clear about it in the extant labor laws and even in the international labor standard. And these are completely established by different standards of the International Labor Organization with respect to remuneration.
Okay, so Martin, yeah, we understand. So Martin, now Johesu has called off the strike. What actually influences or informs that decision? And if the federal government fails to implement or meet your demands at the expiration of 6 weeks, what happens next?
Well, thank you so much. What informed this suspension of this 7-day warning strike is the conciliation meeting that took place at the instance of the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. This conciliation meeting took place on the 29th of October 2024. That is Tuesday this week. And it is the meeting that has the responsibility as mandated by law based on the function of the Federal Ministry of Labor as to how trade disputes can be addressed in this country. So the Federal Ministry of Labor, standing in for the federal government, led the federal government delegation into this conciliation meeting. And this conciliation meeting came up with a memorandum of understanding. And timelines were set to various demands as contained in the Johesu Declaration of Strike Action. And so this MOU formed the basis for us to return back to the expanded National Executive Council of our organs, that is of the Joint Health Sector Union, and to review some of the things federal government has promised to do within the timelines as contained in the MOU with respect to our demands. And of course, we look at it And we say, okay, we're going to give federal government an opportunity to address this demand within the window of 6 weeks. So NEC in session resolved that 6 weeks will be given to federal government to address some of these concerns based on their obligations in the Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay.
And of course, you also based on the premise of the public perception, of the public feelings of our own intervention that we can do to address the gaps that may exist in a cessation of war.
Okay.
So we also consider the general public interest.
Okay. So we are hoping that in the next 6 weeks thereabouts, or not before then anyway, the Nigerian government would have responded, dutifully to your demands, hoping that they will be acceded to. Well, we hope that will happen. Martin Danubi, thank you so much for talking to us at this time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
May now tell you that Botswana President Mokgweetsi Masisi announced on Friday that he would step aside after preliminary results from the recent general elections indicated a major defeat for his party, the Botswana Democratic Party. The BDP has held power in the diamond-rich nation since gaining independence from Britain in 1966. According to early tallies from Wednesday's votes, a coalition of 3 opposition parties secured at least 31 of the 61 seats in the national legislature, enough to claim victory under Botswana's electoral system. The first party to reach 31 seats is eligible to form the government and appoint the president. As the Electoral Commission prepares to confirm the results later on Friday, President Masisi, who has served since 2018, said he would begin all administrative work to facilitate the transition.
I wish to assure you, all of you, as I've already assured the President-elect, I assume, Advocate Duma Boko, that although I wished to continue serving you as your president for a second term and final term, I will respectfully step aside and participate in a smooth and I will participate.
We now cross over to Mozambique, where our correspondent Bongani Siziba is actually standing by for updates on this Botswana election and the outcome. Hello, Bongani. It's nice to have you around. So let us understand, in terms of information, how a coalition of 3 opposition parties were able to unseat and beat the party of a sitting president.
Good afternoon, Lekan. I'm actually in Botswana, not Mozambique. As you can see behind me, I just entered the Botswana border. It's still so surprising. We are all still surprised how 3 opposition parties managed to unseat a 50-year-old party that has been ruling Botswana for such a long time. We still are wondering what actually went on. But actually, what I can tell you is about the youths. This time around, the youths, they registered and they voted they've never done this. This is the first time when I was speaking to the youths here in Botswana. They actually said this time around they are going to make it. And they really did make it because they came out in the numbers just to vote. But what I can tell you is Botswana is still calm. I'm still at the border, but what I've noticed so far is that people are now beginning to wear their regalia. Like I said before during the elections, that I'm not seeing any visibility of people wearing their party regalia. Now I could see the UDC, that is for the president-elect, now wearing their regalia, which means they are happy. But I've been speaking to some of the youths just to ask how they came about to win this election. I'm saying the youth because they are the most that voted. So they told me that they were mobilizing on social media. They were not out on the streets. They never went on the streets just to mobilize, but they used social media. So what I can safely say is that the ruling party didn't see this coming. But what does this mean about the democracy of Africa? Because we have also seen Zambia opposition party taking over. We have seen that in Lesotho. We have seen it in most African countries whereby opposition parties are now taking power. And this liberation party parties being left out. This is what we are seeing in Africa. But also there is the karma effect. The former president of Botswana, we know that he has been in exile. He came back a few weeks ago and he started campaigning against his former party. So the karma effect also came into effect, especially in these elections, because he was against his own party. But also the opposition, when I talk about the leader now, who is the president-elect, he was so invisible, but he came out conquerors. And so it means that the social media that the youth in this country used, it worked in their advantage. So in few hours ago, rather, we saw the Chief Justice Terence Rimawane announcing the leader of the UDC. He is now the president of Botswana.
Thank you so much, Bongani Siziba, for that update. We'll definitely connect with you to get more details from Botswana. We appreciate that. Let's move on now to the Horn of Africa nation. Kenya's government has announced plans to reintroduce some of the tax hikes that sparked deadly protests earlier this year. While a new deputy president was sworn in after weeks of drama, President William Ruto scrapped an unpopular finance bill in June after the protests. But Kenya's government desperately needs to boost revenues as it struggles under around $80 billion in debt. It has prepared 3 new tax and finance bills to be reintroduced soon in Parliament and sent out an explainer to the media on Friday. Several proposals from the scrapped finance bill are being reintroduced, including VAT hikes and new taxes on the digital sector. The latter means freelancers working in the food delivery chain and for ride-hailing apps, which have become vital sources of income in recent years, will have to pay income tax for the first time. We talk business now. Nigeria's federal government has signed a £17.9 million agreement with the European Union and the German government to advance off-grid electricity through the Nigerian Energy Support Program. Now in its 3rd phase, the program aims to bolster investments in renewable energy, energy efficiency and rural electrification. According to the EU, this initiative will enable 154,000 Nigerians to access electricity and connect 30,000 others to clean cooking gas, with a projected 8 megawatts of electricity generated. Launched in 2013, NESP is a technical assistance program co-funded by the EU and Germany's Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, implemented with Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Power. In sports, the ARU has banned Ethiopian marathon runner Tsehe Gemechu for 4 years from November 30, 2023 for the use of a prohibited substance and method, ABP case, as it was called. Over 4 years of blood samples taken from Gemechu demonstrate anomalies consistent with doping. Gemechu gave 50 blood samples, with those taken in March 2020, April and May 2022, indicative of blood manipulation, according to an independent doping tribunal's verdict. During these blood samples, Gemechu represented Ethiopia at the Tokyo Olympics, but was disqualified for lane infringement. She holds a half-marathon best of 65.08 seconds, which she set in Copenhagen in 2021. The ARU provisionally suspended Gemechu in November 2023 to further investigate her case, which prevented her from running in the 2023 Valencia Marathon, which she was favored to win. Gemechu was set to compete in the 2024 Valencia Marathon in December. However, she is banned from competition until November 2027. Ruben Amorim has been appointed as new Manchester United coach and will join in November 11. That is once he has fulfilled his obligations with Sporting. Amorim signed a contract until June 2027 with the adoption of a further year and will take charge of his first United match at Ipswich on November 24. United have paid Sporting an extra €1 million, that's approximately £840,000, on top of his €10 million, that's about £8.4 million exit clause for an early release from his 30-day notice period. It replaces Erik ten Hag, who was sacked last month, while Ruud van Nistelrooy will continue to take charge of the first team until Amorim joins. United host Chelsea on Sunday. It has not yet been decided if Van Nistelrooy will be part of Amorim's coaching staff. And that's all at this hour on the news, but before we go, we'll look at our top stories again. Court grants £10 million bail each to 67 minors of End Bad Governance. Kenya reintroduces controversial tax reform, swears in new deputy president. We also told you that Botswana's president, Masisi, concedes defeat, pledges smooth transition amid election upsets. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422 Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.